in the SEC is, God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they should
Players, look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Today is Friday, November 3rd. It is the eve of the 15th game of the century in a row. LSU Alabama. I don't think this one's being dubbed the game of the century. But down here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, it is the game of the century every year. And
it all comes down to this.
it always comes down to this. We're here live in Perkins Row at Cards and Culture, like we always are, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're open to the public. Come in here, come browse around, come buy some merchandise, come buy some cards. We just broke a box of cards. I have no idea what's going on with these cards, but we just broke. I picked the box. I don't think I did great with the box that I picked for the person who bought it, but hopefully some of these guys end up becoming a lot better and he wins some cards. But come in, visit us in Cards and Culture, come hang out with us. We have a lot to talk about. Obviously, LSU Alabama is tomorrow. We've had 2 weeks to talk about it like we do every year. You get to go through Halloween. You get to talk about why we're going to win, why they're not going to win, why LSU is not as good as Alabama, why Nick Saban is the best coach of all time. All of these storylines every year are coming to fruition again this week. We've talked about it all week. We've talked about it all last week. The secondary is an issue. I have a take on that. I think we've talked about it. I don't think the secondary being these young guys being in the secondary is that much of an issue as much as we were making it out to be, because in reality the secondary stunk anyway. So it's just a matter of these guys being in the right spot at the right time. Thursday night football happened last night. The Titans,
What a stinker.
thought they had the win.
Oh.
But then the Pittsburgh Steelers, like the Pittsburgh Steelers always do, took it away from them.
Matt Canada,
Won
baby.
the game, 20-16. Not a great game, kind of a stinker of a game. But now Pittsburgh is 5-3. Tennessee is 3-5. Seems like Will Levis is going to be a dude. I like the way he's. If you give him time in the pocket, it feels like he is very, very okay with sitting in the pocket and making some throws. Obviously, he's a rookie. As a second start, he's going to take some time. Kenny Pickett had some throws, didn't have some throws. Missed a lot of throws early on. Made a throw down the sideline to Deontay Johnson late in the game. That was a really good throw. That kind of set themselves up to win the game.
George thought he was in college still. 1 foot.
Yeah. George thought he was in college still.
George
the
made a
running
hell of a
backs
catch
are
on the sideline too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
player.
He's a player.
LSU might have dodged a bullet there in that SEC championship in 2019.
Yeah, but is he gonna make that much of a difference?
I don't think so.
Probably not. But the reason why I bring up Thursday night football is because the parlay king himself, me, don't usually hit the parlays,
but I put him
that
in.
is a running joke. And then what I said on the air on Monday, I said I think I'm going to continue to. I need you to change the ticker, Lloyd. The bottom of the ticker.
Oh, why is it the old one?
I don't know.
Gross.
I said early in the show, I was like, hey, I'm not that I'm not going to take the parlays. I'm just not going to bet it at my normal rate. I'm gonna be a little bit smarter about it, which I was last night. And sure enough, I hit it. That's what happens. You take your bet back off of blackjack, and then you hit blackjack when you have the minimum bet on there. And that's kind of what happened last night.
And you go back to the table.
I won, which is a nice, boost into the weekend. It's getting me closer to.
And now he has 6 parlays in.
Exactly.
We're gonna talk about betting at the end of the show. We have Bryce Koon coming in. I mean, not in. On the show via video call at 1:45. He is on the road to Tuscaloosa. He has all the inside information, all the insight that he has gathered over the course of the last 2 weeks of what is being said in the locker room, the vibes in the locker room. How's LSU going to attempt to manage this secondary? How are they going to defend Alabama? We're going to get all of those questions from him. I think that this weekend in college football, there's going to be a lot of chaos. There's a lot of games that are being played that have a lot of implications. Kansas State, number 23 in the country, is playing at Texas, who is number 7 in the country. Texas does not have Quinn Ewers as a starting quarterback, right? So is Arch Manning going to play? Is he not? I don't know. But that is a tough matchup, right? Texas is kind of right in the thick of things to make a playoff run. A&M is at Ole Miss. That obviously has a bunch of implications because Ole Miss still needs to lose an SEC game, right? And obviously we still have A&M on the schedule at the last game of the season. Oklahoma at Oklahoma State, Missouri at Georgia, and then Washington at USC. I believe USC has a chance to upset Washington, who's ranked 5 in the country. Missouri at Georgia. I don't think Missouri is going to upset Georgia, but that Georgia-Missouri matchup and that Ole Miss A&M matchup have a lot of implications for us as LSU fans, not only in the SEC West standings, but also in game time for next weekend against Florida. I think everybody would love to have the LSU-Florida game in Baton Rouge at night. I think next weekend, they haven't obviously announced the time. They haven't announced time for that game or the Ole Miss-Georgia game. And I think part of the reason is they're trying to figure out what happens, the results of these weekends. I think if both of those, if Ole Miss wins and Georgia wins, that's a top 7, top 6 matchup. That's probably going to be the 2:30 game on CBS. But there's a lot of things happening. Women's basketball tips off. Doesn't kick off.
Doesn't kick.
Tips off on Monday. That was a bad shot by me. So
You missed it?
Yeah, just kind of,
You don't want to guide it.
I got a little tough. It's just nice fluid. You got to hold the follow through.
That's how Jaden Daniels learned how to play quarterback again.
That's it. Just got to flick it. Just flick it.
Do you know that?
So they say.
Couldn't be
Women's
us.
basketball tips off on Monday against Colorado, number 20 Colorado in the PMAC.
You think Dion will be there?
Probably not. I was in Las Vegas in the PMAC. Maybe. Probably not, but maybe. And then if you have not been paying attention to baseball is officially over for the year. World Series champions, Texas Rangers. Let everybody give them a round of applause. The first World Series in the history of the Rangers. I think they've been an organization for like 40 years or something, probably a little less than that. First time ever they've won the World Series. They were 1 out away from in 2011. Some may say that was one of the best World Series of all time.
Nelson Cruz would disagree.
Nelson Cruz did not. Just one extra step in the leap, you probably win.
That would be that would probably.
But then David Freese isn't David Freese.
And if he does it, he might have been retiring probably like 5 years earlier.
You're right. He may have
even though he just retired. I don't know if you knew that.
Yep.
Just finally said it.
Another round of applause for Nelson Cruz.
The boomstick.
The boomstick. 42 or 43 years old.
Yeah.
I think 43.
43.
But what actually?
On the internet.
Yeah.
I think he's 43.
I think he's probably right. 43. Great dude. Hits a bunch of homers.
Cheater.
What?
Steroid guy.
He was.
I think he did, yeah. I think that's correct.
Hate that.
That's an accelerator these days. So
maybe that's part of the reason why he played till he was 43.
Yeah.
They finally started wearing off at the end.
Or stayed ahead of the curve, whatever.
Or that.
You would think that would be the play where you give like maximum effort, and he decided not to.
Yeah, but look, I agree.
They
This
were
is 2011 we're talking
paying
about.
him the hit, baby.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with
here?
you. I agree with you 100%. Like, got to go out. This is the last play. It's the last out of the World Series. You're winning a World Series championship if you make the catch. Now, that play, and this is no excuse, that play is a very tough play to read, especially if you're not a defensive wizard, and
He's not a defensive
he kind of
wizard.
did what everybody probably thought was going to happen with him playing right field, and it just happened that the ball went right to him, and David Freese became a hero, and he became a goat. Or no, not a goat.
The goat.
Yeah, I guess.
Because a goat could be a bad thing.
That's what I mean.
Go.
Yeah.
Skate.
Goat.
Yeah. But
Congratulations.
congratulations to the Rangers for winning. Congratulations to Josh Smith. He was funneling beers from the trophy somehow. Actually, not funneling, just leaking out of the bars of the trophy. Looks like they had a really good time. Very disappointing. Not disappointing. I don't know what happened after the game. I hope that they had a nice party. I hope.
I think they did.
They're in Arizona. I would imagine that Scottsdale is a really good place to.
Something tells me that somebody on that roster, active and or inactive, has some kind of connections with the Scottsdale crew of getting where they need to go.
Well, they have some guys on there that probably live in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
They probably have some former players.
Spring training's there. They've spent ample time there. They know the lay of the land there.
That's a nice place to win a championship. But congratulations to them. We're not here to talk baseball though. Now baseball's over. We're going to talk.
Another nice place to win a championship is
Where?
Bryant-Denny, Tuscaloosa.
Well,
You're
you
not
could
really
win
winning
a
the
championship.
You could win the
You
championship.
can put yourself in the driver's seat to win a championship by winning in Bryant-Denny. Is that your segue because Bryce is in the chat right now?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were doing something cool.
I mean, I'm steering the conversation back to football.
I know. That's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
We're not – look, baseball's over with. Professional baseball's over with. We're going to talk a little bit about fall baseball
This year.
throughout the course of this fall and then moving into the spring. But we are in the middle of football season. We are on some would say the back half of football season, or getting towards the back half.
We made
of
it to
football
November.
Season. We have made it to November. It is November 3rd. This weekend is obviously the biggest football weekend of the year to date. So we are excited to talk about all LSU, all Alabama, all what's going to happen. Give me all of the expert predictions from our friend Bryce Koon, who is driving in this – actually not driving maybe.
He's frozen currently.
He is frozen.
Because he's in the car. I will say, he popped up.
There he is, with the Masters hat, looking good.
There he is.
Looking good.
Now we're moving.
Not driving. He's not driving, everybody. Or maybe he is driving. No,
there we go.
He is not driving. His beautiful wife is driving. That is nice. That is nice. So we appreciate you coming on the show, as always. Where are you in this drive? Where are you in the journey to Tuscaloosa? You don't know.
About 10 minutes from my apartment outside Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
We had to pick up lunch. We had to pick up a lunch, but I'm not going to show where we ate because it's not a sponsor of the show.
Okay, look,
so
no free ads.
They got paid. No free ads here.
You get it. Before we get to football, what do you think about the Rangers winning the World Series?
The wrong team in Texas.
Man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was cool though. I mean, it's Bruce Bochy's a good guy, and I think that he's well respected across the league. And it's cool to see him continue what is a Hall of Fame. So I like that.
I agree. And I like the fact that the Rangers said we're not going to rebuild. We're going to go and get this, and we're going to rebuild around that. And they paid for it, and they ended up bringing up some young guys, and I like all of that. So, yes, I'm with you. I agree. Now, let's get to the real conversation here, and that is LSU Alabama. We've had 2 weeks. You've had 2 weeks to study the game film, talk to the coaches, talk to the players, hear everybody's concerns about not having a secondary, not having cornerbacks healthy. What is the feeling in the locker room? What is being relayed to you? Obviously, Brian Kelly came out and said that the defense is night and day better than it was at Ole Miss, which I think we would agree with. But they've lost. They have lost 3 cornerbacks that were kind of in that fold. So we had somebody walk in, and a dog got stepped on. So
nice little sunbathing going on.
Yeah. So what is your take on this?
I think you're right in the fact that defense has, and we've talked about it, has gradually gotten better. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But I think that this is kind of the ultimate challenge because, look, the teams that they played in between that Ole Miss and now the Alabama game, you can make the argument, or people who are the naysayers can make the argument, hey, those offenses aren't all that explosive. Outside of Missouri, I think the second half against Missouri, that's what you want to be able to say, can we play like we did in that second half for a full 60? So that's going to be something I think is really huge. And then kind of obviously, look, you showed flashes against Auburn. You showed, obviously, dominant effort against Army. And, you know, all jokes aside, it's hard to shut down anybody. So the fact that you did that is huge. I really like that. So I think that they're trending in the right direction. And I do agree with Kelly. Like, I think there's a night and day. I don't want to say it's all talent, because we've talked about, you know, Pete Jenkins, a lot of these other guys. I think it is maybe a little fire. It's on the aspect of, look, these guys understand what's at stake. They know how good their offense is, and you got a lot of guys that are playing, you know, their last season in purple and gold, and their last season maybe football ever, and they understand what's at stake here this season if they want to continue to play, you know, deep into December and potentially, who knows? I'd have to create some chaos, but maybe they can play in January.
Well, I'm glad you said the chaos thing. And before, I mean, this weekend they have a lot of opportunity for some chaos. Obviously, Washington's ranked 5 in the country. They play at USC. Texas plays against Kansas State without their starting quarterback. Missouri's at Georgia, which I don't think is going to be, you know, I don't think that's going to be an upset. It may be closer than the experts think, but it's not going to be an upset. I have a take on our secondary, right? People talk about, we don't have enough bodies, or we're going to struggle in the secondary. The secondary has stunk all year. So in my mind, it's not like it's going to be, we're taking away All-Americans off the secondary and we're bringing in guys who are not All-Americans. You're taking away guys who, they've had some experience, but they haven't played great, and putting in guys who may not have as much experience. But how much is – I just don't feel like it's going to be that much of a difference. I think the big change or the big decision or the big I guess what's going to determine the game is the defensive line. Right, I think if the defensive line can make Jalen Milroe move off his spot and make him sit in the pocket, not say move off his spot, but kind of get uncomfortable and sit in the pocket and maybe have some errant throws, I think maybe you can sneak a couple of turnovers and give yourself an opportunity to score more points. Is that kind of on par with some of the thinking, or am I just being a fan and being biased towards I don't think the secondary is going to be that much of an issue?
I think there's something to that, because I think the bigger thing and maybe the bigger storyline that we see starting to play out on Saturday is, you know, is the loss of Mikie Wingo bigger than we think? You know, I think Mikie Wingo, one fantastic young man, you know, a model of what you want, and a guy that I think, you know, they did a good job this summer taking him to SEC Media Days. He's a guy that you want to represent the program. And then on the fifth, it's an All-American football player. That's right there. So, you know, like you said, we all know in terms of what it needs to be able to be. But you've been able to get away by, especially in the weeks. And hey, you know, I mean, can be disruptive. Can they do that without Mikie Wingo against an offensive line that, you know, is not it's not the best that Saban has had maybe in production-wise, but it's still got good talent. It's got good talent.
Hey, Bryce, we're gonna disconnect and call back. We're gonna disconnect and you just call us right back. I know you're driving. You're in some trees in Baton Rouge. I think energy's messing around with some people's internet. Hang up, reconnect, and we're gonna just call us right back.
Same link.
Same link. Good.
Great.
We gotta be good. I'm just gonna text him.
Okay.
I'm
He
just
heard
gonna
you.
text him.
He's disconnected now.
Okay.
I could see him.
Perfect.
Yeah, he'd be back.
He got it.
He'd be right back.
The hazards of the road.
Hey, listen. I respect the fact that he is talking to us and making his wife drive to Tuscaloosa. I wonder if she's driving the whole way. I'm
That's
asking.
what I was about to ask. I
Like,
wonder.
will he pull the? Babe, just go ahead, keep driving. Let me go ahead.
You're doing great.
Relax
Yeah.
over here. I got some work I need to pull for the next.
I wonder if she's driving the whole way. That's a great move by him, making his wife get to be able to drive.
He just stays on the show for 3 hours.
If you need us to do it, we can do it for you.
So we're hoping he can hop back in. He has.
We're
some
hoping
audio
so.
built
He
in.
always has some good insight. He's back. He's back. Back.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. No, sorry about that too, man. No, it's you know, just kind of into what I was saying there. I think, you know, I do something that we're going to see. Like, I expect to go out there and a lot of success. But what we hope to see is that this is that we can do enough, and this, you know, some guy, that's what he's done. It's going to be huge.
Jay, question?
Yeah, Bryce. So earlier this week via the McAfee show, first time I've ever heard Saban kind of say
nice
something
giving
like
your
this.
references. That's,
You know, you got to kind of
Source
put
your
it out
credit.
there.
Yeah, cite your
But
sources.
Saban said something about not said something about it. He basically said nowadays 2 losses is a death sentence. And he was very open and willing to say something like that. Obviously, LSU is going into this game with 2 losses, but it doesn't seem to me that he is basically trying to dumb down what the games are this year or what this game does mean to not only the SEC but to the rest of their season. Brian Kelly has gone about that a different way since he's gotten here, and he's really tried to dumb this game down as if it's just another game and not play it up as much as it's been played up in the past. How has he gone about that this year, and what is your take on how that whole dynamic will play out in this thing? And he's not there.
So it's for me.
So go ahead and
This is
answer
for
that
me.
question because he's
It's
not
for
there.
me
There it is.
because
Yes.
technology has made a lot of strides
It's a
in
bitch
our
sometimes.
lifetimes. But sometimes when you're in the trees and you're driving and you're moving and grooving, sometimes signal
you
gets
get the
lost.
2-0 changeup. And-
Sometimes,
yeah.
sometimes you get the
Front.
3-0 breaking ball.
Yeah, you swing
and you
right
just don't
through
really
it.
know.
Yeah, there you go.
But to answer your question, about
Which was a good one.
which is a great question, and that is, listen, we listen to other sports shows that we feel like
Get some insight from.
get some really good information from, and talking to the man himself, Nick Saban, is probably
It's a good
as
one
good
to
as you're
listen
going to
to.
get, right? Like, I mean, dude, he had some conversation about the analytics and how he goes about them and what they say,
Which
and what
is
they
super
do,
interesting, too,
which
by the
was
way.
very
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
But the death sentence thing, yes, I get what he's saying, and I know he's saying that on his side as far as we can't lose another game, we already have a loss. But he's also saying that no team has ever been there with 2 losses. Now, no team has ever got to the playoff with 2 losses until they have, right? Like, there's always going to be that one outlier. And I feel like being in the SEC and having the opportunity to go on the road, beat Alabama, and kind of right the ship and then go. And then you have to beat, obviously, Georgia in the SEC championship game. I think that's a warranted resume of getting to the playoffs. So
I think it's a so when I heard him say that and talk about it, I think it's a what you just said. I think it's a worthy resume, but I think it also too way more than even in the past and in those BCS days. Now it becomes you're basically campaigning for yourself now, as opposed to your resume actually working for itself. And I think that's what he means is if there's 2 on your record, they're going to go around in any way and every way and try to find a way to phase you out. And you're on the other side basically having to run a campaign as to why you should, as opposed to being like, hey, here's the resume. Do what you do. Do what you need to do with it. Right? And I think that's kind of what he means in a sense where I've never really heard him talk about it like that before, but he looks at it as like, hey, you get to 2 and it's no longer in your hands. It's no longer, hey, your schedule, you're worthy. You got to hope the other stuff kind of falls in place for you to be able to get in.
And look, to your point, it's going to be an uphill battle. LSU can run the table. It's going to be an uphill battle because they're going to have somebody, and I don't want to use the word brave because that's like not the right word, but somebody with enough nuts to say, all right, we believe that this 2-loss team is one of the top 4 teams, and to jump a Big 12 team or a Pac-12 team that has 1 loss that didn't win the championship, like somebody's going to have to make that decision in that room, which God knows what they talk about in there, to say, okay, we're going to jump them, right? SEC champion beating the defending national champions, the 2-time defending national champions, team who's probably by that point is going to have maybe 30 straight wins, whatever it is. Like, to me, doing that, I think that you get the opportunity, but it's gonna fall on somebody saying they deserve it.
Without me even like looking past this game, of me looking just at this game, I think it's hard for me to believe that Saban would say something like that on a national platform, knowing that there's a very good chance that a large number of his players would actually hear that, in the sense of that's not the first time that group of guys have heard, hey, you can't do 2 here.
Right.
1 is where it ends at here. You can't do 2 here, right? So for me, when I think, and like I said, not going past this game, when I just think about this game, it's crazy to me that hearing Nick Saban talk about this game, it's obvious there is a very, very, very large sense of urgency on this game. And I'm not saying that it isn't on the Brian Kelly side of the LSU side of this game as well. But we all know that Brian Kelly has tried to play this particular game down, because he felt like it was played up too much. He felt like it was too much emphasis. He felt like people played tight, coached tight, and it never went the right way, right? I mean, like, I think Alabama's winners of 10 of the last 12, right? So it's crazy to me that we got one side of this coming into this, which is, it seems to me that they're pretty alert that, hey, there's no more, a second loss is not okay. It's not part of it. LSU's already at a second loss, and they're downplaying this game. How does that dynamic work out and play out in this game? Is the weird part to me, because it's never seemed like that's how Nick Saban looked at this game.
Right.
So,
no, it's. You got something to say? You got a thought over there?
Go ahead.
No, you got a thought? Let me hear your thoughts.
Yeah, what you
I
got?
feel like I'm in class. Like,
Let me hear your thoughts.
I was just going to say, it feels like,
Over there.
huh?
You're the moderator.
Yes. Point, counterpoint. It feels like from like
I like
Saban.
this angle on you.
Thank you.
It's further away.
Yeah,
I don't know if
that's
you like
always
the
good
I don't
for
know if
me.
you like the close one?
No, I don't like anything about me on the camera. I'm just especially with you two. Really stand out like a sore thumb. Just,
Well, imagine us
Confidence riding high.
Yeah,
on
that's-
the
feeling good about yourself. That's good. Good self-esteem. High self-esteem. That's what we're about over here.
Family week.
Yeah, that's what we're about over here.
But it feels like for Saban, the reason he could almost have that perspective for this football game is because he knew what he was going to get. Like, you had Les Miles for 10 plus years, where it was like, I mean, I'd blow the dust off of this game plan because he's going to do the same thing and I'm going to do the same thing, and guess who's going to win?
Well,
Me.
Alabama's not going to do the same thing.
Right. Well, I know
That's
how
what
to stop it.
that was the problem. Was Les thought they were going to continue to do the same thing, and then once he realized, okay, well, they're doing kind of the same things, but they're better than us. They're more talented than us right now. Then all of a sudden they stopped doing the same things, and then instead of it being close games, it was, okay, now you're winning by 20 points, and that's not good. And so, yes, like, you don't have that. You have a team that offensively is the best in the country, probably the best offense outside of 19. And listen, 19, that was like, you still kind of felt like they had to prove. We talked about this the other day off the show. Like, they're winning games, they're doing everything they need to do, and they're putting up these gaudy numbers, but you still felt like you had to prove it against Tua and Alabama, and they did that. This year, it's like, well, you had good offense last year. This year, it's been phenomenal all year, and now it's like what you're expecting, and Alabama's defense is kind of not Alabama's. I don't want to say not.
It's not the standard.
It's good.
I would say around
It's
the roster,
good.
they just don't have the star power that
Right,
they've had.
right. And so, I think he knows, like, damn, okay, we have a challenge to stop their offense. Like, their offense is going to score points and move the ball. How do we limit their possessions? How do we take the ball away from them? But on the other side of it, Alabama doesn't run as well as they have in the past. Their offensive line has given
Not
up
as
more
good as it
sacks.
has been in the past.
And look, Brian Kelly said in his press conference, that's a little bit of a misleading stat. He said they've given up 30 sacks this year, and it hasn't been up to par. But you watch them on film, it doesn't feel like
That's their
that could be
weakness.
something to do with the guy under center.
Yeah.
Right? And so, they're really good. And it's not saying this is going to be easy, but it's a little bit of a different Alabama team. You still have to bring your hard hat and figure this thing out, because I think when it all boils down to, no matter how good the offense is or how good their defense is or their offense and our defense, it's going to boil down to how physical are you going to be against Alabama. And that's, I feel like, when you scrap it down to the very bare bones, that's what it comes down to. And, I think that our defensive line, our offensive line are two of our strengths on the team. So I'm pretty confident with that.
When I look at this game, I feel like for the first time in a very, very, very long time, and I can even, once again, going into this game, not the final product of this game, but going into this game, I still feel like even in 19, that was not the case and that wasn't the thought process. But I feel like if we're going in a back and forth match and you're expecting your offense or needing your offense to score, this is the first time in this game where I feel like, hey, I think our offense is up for that task if we get the ball last. Like, I feel like they have the upper hand in this game, and that hasn't been the feeling in a long time. But my question to you is this, like, Mikey, like we've talked about a lot how this day and age, this era of sports is analytics say do it, that's why we did it, and no one ever has to or offers context as to why they did that. And so the reason why I bring it up is because we just heard kind of Nick Saban talk about it a little bit, and this is one of the greatest coaches
Hop on in,
of
Joe.
all time finally speaking about something like that. What was your take on or your feeling on the way he kind of spoke about it?
I loved it because I think that in all sports, analytics and technology I don't want to say ruling the game. I don't want to say ruining because that's not the case. But it's a lot more prevalent. Oh yeah. It's a lot more prevalent than it has ever been in the past. Right. You look at baseball and you're like, well, yeah. That was good. Almost didn't see any of you. You okay?
Look at that.
You okay?
A little winded.
In baseball, it's a lot. You hear a lot. Analytics, this, making decisions based on analytics. NFL, he made a comment about the NFL. He goes, when you're in the NFL, you have all this information. Everybody in the NFL, from the owner down to the intern, gets these numbers. So everybody's looking at it, and so now you feel obligated to make these decisions based off of these analytics because the owner has them, the GM has them, the president, everybody has them. In college, it's not that way. And so I like the way that he said we have analytics, we see all the numbers, we go through all the numbers, but at the end of the day, Nick Saban ends up making the decisions based off of what he sees and how he feels while using the information that he's got. And I think that's the best way to do it, right? And I love hearing that from him because he's not a dinosaur. He wouldn't be able to be this successful for this long by never changing. Yeah. But he also understands, hey, I've been around football a long time. I know that it's more about the guys and the players than it is about the numbers. And the numbers help me make decisions on certain things, but my eyeballs can tell me a lot more than sometimes the numbers can't really read. Yeah. And I love that, right? And I think that he's even talked about him making changes in his coaching strategies and how he goes about coaching. Yeah. Talking about when he was younger, he felt like he needed to intimidate and do all this stuff and scare them into playing hard. And now he's changed his approach to saying, well, I want them to feel like I have their respect and they have my respect, and I'm going to get them to where they need to be. And I think you've seen that. You see it this year with the players, the way they're talking about. I know Lloyd's going to go to it's probably because he's about to retire narrative. I know that's what crossed your mind. I know that went in there.
Oh, man, all the feelings came back whenever you had One Team, One Pod posted. Did you see this? It was Nick Saban when he was at LSU, and it was after when he's like,
I am not leaving.
No, it wasn't that one. I remember that. It was like after the field, he's like, I feel like I'm going to be at LSU forever. And it was so much hope in his voice. And
he would have been.
I was talking about this yesterday with somebody. But of course, this conversation always comes up. It feels like he wishes he was still at LSU because he just made Alabama what Baton Rouge, like what he wanted it to be.
But it would have been
easier. He just built a different LSU over there.
It's hard for me to say, but
now he's going to retire.
Yeah. It's hard for me to say, it would have been better in Baton Rouge than it did at Alabama. I don't know if it would have been better. It may say amount. It would have been easier to get there.
Yeah, he wouldn't have had to have played LSU.
Right.
And LSU wouldn't have had to play. There would be no Alabama.
I want to welcome Joe Mitchell to the show.
That's really what he had to do.
From 10-second runoff, Joe Mitchell. he is a college football connoisseur.
My long-lost cousin.
Yeah, and Jay's, look, you can tell. They look the same. One's been in the sun longer than the other.
That's because we put him up here against the window.
That's right. That's right. But Joe's on the show. He has his podcast, 10-second runoff. Does a really good job. Talks a lot about college football. Obviously knows a lot about LSU. Mm-hmm. So he jumped on the show, especially since Bryce had some technical difficulties driving on the. It happens.
Do you think they switched seats?
I wanted to ask him that.
No, you could text him.
Yeah, but it's not as.
It
doesn't hit as well.
No.
What's your take on this weekend, Joe?
The spread's 3. Over/under is 61.5.
Oh,
it's gone up.
I'm on the right side of that, baby.
Yeah.
I took it at 60.
Yeah, I
did go up.
Went up a point and a half.
I still like the over.
I don't know, me too. But the fact that it went up a point and a half makes you feel like I'm on the right side of this, baby.
Yeah, for sure.
I do too.
And I got LSU at 4.5.
That's good. I haven't taken LSU. I'm gonna take him at 3. I do like the 3.
I mean, 30.
I couldn't get it at 4. It's been at 3 since I looked at it.
Yeah.
So
4.5, 4, 3.5, 3.
It's been at 3 since Monday, I think, or Wednesday.
Yeah, it got to 3.5, and then it went down to 3. Yeah. But it's holding firm at 3, which we all thought would happen.
Yeah.
What's interesting is LSU has, in terms of statistics, underperformed this year, but you've seen the spread close by 7 full points from the start of the season for this game, which is really interesting. We opened the season a 10-point dog to them. So regardless of the fact that LSU has underperformed, they really like LSU.
When you say underperformed, you mean underperformed in terms of spread and like covering the spread?
In terms of Vegas didn't have LSU with 2 losses at this point.
Right.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I would say a key metric in this game, from my perspective, is Bama is 9th in the country in 40-plus yard plays. When you have a defensive backfield as vulnerable as LSU right now, that's a scary stat.
But the flip side of that is they are not very good at throwing underneath and throwing mid-range, like the mid-range game.
Which is why I don't understand why people are clamoring, hey, just blitz Harold
Me too.
more. Why?
Me too. I'm with you.
Why? I would rather not give Milroe a chance to do what becomes instinctual for him, which is move around and be an athlete.
Yeah.
I would rather make him stand back there and realize, all right, shit, I can't beat him over the top. Let me find something underneath.
Basically, to shell him to death like they did Patrick Mahomes at the beginning of all.
It's what they've
last
done.
year.
They've done everybody who's been really good as a very much a deep threat team.
Yeah.
The last couple of years, everybody said, all right, we'll never bring anyone down, and we'll play like this.
Now, on the flip side of that, Alabama's bottom 4 in the whole country in terms of sacks given up. They've given up 35 sacks this year. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe there is an argument of, hey, try and bring the house. Don't give them the time for the 40-yard play. But I hear what you're saying.
Or you allow, because their offensive line hasn't been the greatest, or you allow the defensive front 4 say, hey, you have to get to him with the front 4.
Yeah.
If you can get to him without bringing extra guys, I think that sets you up.
So let me ask
to win.
So let me ask you this question: What becomes a bigger deal? Not being able to get pressure in the pass game, or not being able to stop the run?
Stop the run.
Okay, because I'm thinking to myself, like, that's probably going to be the bigger decider on if the safeties are going to come down or not, is if we can run fit and play the run very well without having to bring that extra man in the box. If you don't have to, I feel very, very good about them being able to play with that front 4 up there and those other guys.
Me too, because when you stop if you're able to give up, if you're giving up the running game, right, and you say, hey, you can run, you're running for 4 or 5 yards a carry, I think it'll be almost impossible to stop them.
Yes.
Because now the play action game comes into play.
Right into
yeah,
what
it's
they
just
do.
you play right into what
that's
they want.
And that's just anyone in that situation. Like, a lot of people think, like, oh, all right, what we're going to do is we're just going to be blitzing linebackers because they're running all over us. Truly you are, but when you do that, you also have to bring people down to be able to not have wide open guys running underneath, right? So that's part of the run fit there, saying that, all right, if we can stop the run without having to bring extra guys, not reading, just bring extra guys, then we can keep this 2-shell and we can stay and play you like this the whole game. So I think them being able to stuff the run, especially on early downs, is going to be huge for them.
No doubt.
Huge for them.
That's a difficult task. So I've seen a lot of people say that, maybe we could just kind of give them a little bit in the run game because they haven't been successful running the ball this year, averaging 3 some odd yards a carry. I call BS on that.
no doubt.
With the 35 sacks, that takes away almost 300 yards of rushing on the season.
Because in college,
yes,
you can't wear a headset.
And I'll give it to you like this too. There's another reason why I don't love that conversation as well, is because let's just say it is 3.5 yards. Well, then we're looking at 3rd and 3 sitting there where I can give it to the running back again. I can pull it and let him do what he's instinctual able to do, or I can put it in somebody's stomach, take it out, and throw it over the top like they usually do. Yeah. Like, you're kind of really playing right into him anyway in that situation. Yeah. So I don't love the thought of like, oh yeah, we just give up. No, like, you really need to stuff first down runs.
No doubt.
Really need to play.
And here's the deal. Oh, they're not running as well. They're Alabama. They're going to be able to run the football. Yeah. Like, if you're going to give them and you're going to take that,
there ain't a top 10 Alabama
they're
team.
Gonna
I don't care how
football.
good and or bad or not the same and or dominant you think they are. That's not going to run the football well.
And you mentioned this earlier in the week. You're going to see a lot more Jalen Milroe runs, I believe, in this game than you had the last few weeks. Right? I think they're going to start. They're going to use his legs more, similar to what LSU kind of did last year with Jaden at Alabama. Had some more design runs. I think that for me the key is if you can I don't want to say stop the run, like you want to stop the run, but if you can limit that and you say, okay, they're not gaining big chunks on 1st, 2nd down, and you force Jalen Milroe to say, okay, you're going to drop back, and you keep him in the pocket and you don't bring extra guys and let him get outside, contain, and now he's using his legs and now you got to come up and now he just drops. I think that to me is the big key, right?
Yeah.
I really do.
And on that same note, Jalen Milroe, if you remove sacks and just look at what his true design run plays comes out to, it's damn near identical in terms of yardage to Roydell Williams. And obviously the quarterback's not running through the A-gap like running backs do, so it's a different argument. But, That's not easy either.
Right.
So you they have what, 3 guys with over 300 rushing yards by themselves. You're not having 1,000 yards a year out of any guy in particular, but you got 3 capable runners you have to handle now.
Yeah. So
They're built a little bit like LSU last year.
A little bit, actually.
Being able to.
I like how you're surprised when I say something. You're like, I think I do agree.
I do agree with that one, actually. That was good. I agree with you more than I think, but on here, I think sometimes you try.
Maybe.
hard.
He tries to push the other side.
Because
of the
when we
envelope
get
a
off
little
there,
bit.
you
He
talk
does.
about. I kind of agree with you, but I couldn't be. Not everybody can agree. I'm like, okay, that's good.
He
You
does try to
understand
push
the
that
role.
envelope.
Yeah.
So there's 2 things, right?
No, you're
I
wrong.
think being able to stop the run, making big plays on first and second down, I think is going to be huge for them. So the more they can stuff the run, it's going to be great. And I've said this about a couple other games they've played this year, but I do think this is a paramount game for them. You can't play 14 behind, 10 plus behind in this game, because then now you're going to be asking that defensive side of the ball to have to start trying to cheat to make plays, and you're playing into what they do well. If you have to do it that way. So I think being able to play it tit for tat, field goal for field goal, staying within a 7, 3, 10, to be able to keep yourself in range, to not have to get out of your game plan, really, it's so paramount for this team this week that it's not even that really needs to happen.
I'm glad you said the points, right? 3, 7. Alabama's very good
On special teams.
at getting into the red zone and scoring 3 points. They're not great at scoring touchdowns.
Why is that?
They're not great in the red zone.
Why is that?
Because it's hard to
I can't
throw.
blow-
It's
I
hard to
can't blow
hard.
the top off
It's hard to
of
throw
you.
40-yard passes when you're in the red zone. It's hard to scramble and then throw the ball downfield when you're in the red zone. And if your offensive line hasn't been super dominant and it
Shit
tightens
gets
up,
tight.
it's just very hard, right?
You know what
That
else?
seems like in the past, LSU struggled to do that when they got in the red zone to score touchdowns against Alabama. Now LSU's red zone defense has not been great either.
Right.
Maybe the worst
Right?
in the country.
Yes, not great, but something's gonna have to give, right?
But-
bad red zone offense, bad red zone defense.
So-
if you can lock it down and
I
keep
agree.
some of those 3, let's say they get in the red zone 6 times, hopefully not, but let's say they get in the red zone 6 times, and 3 of those 6 are field goals. I like LSU's chances of outscoring them and taking away those 12 points that you held.
And
You
I'll
like the
just say
math
this.
they did there?
I'll
Oh,
say
yeah.
this a little bit too. Just this is just a little bit, and I think it's kind of easy. But we also like to revert back to numbers. Like you can go ahead and just put it. This season for LSU defensively is kind of in 2 seasons, and they're not equal amount of games. You got pre-Pete Jenkins and you got post-Pete Jenkins. All right, these teams have played completely different when he was not in the building and when he's been in the building, and the numbers on the season, they're all mashed together. So it's kind of hard to really gauge them off the numbers.
And to that point, Pete Jenkins' first game was against Missouri. I'm talking about first game. Like, I show up to the field on Monday, and you got to prepare these guys for a Saturday game.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a ton of time. LSU's red zone defense against Missouri was a lot better than it had been through the course of the year. They had stopped them a couple times, held them to some field goals, did some things that you hadn't seen prior to Pete Jenkins getting there. And then, obviously, they've played better. Now, they haven't played the explosive offenses that they played kind of earlier in the season, but they have gotten better. So you're gonna be able to hopefully see them. They had 2 weeks to prepare. And look, we are outside of the building and not getting paid a lot of money to coach football. They know this. Alabama knows this. LSU knows this. They know the weaknesses and the strengths, and so they have had 2 weeks to try to prepare. And I like, in a situation where the red zone defense is subpar and the red zone offense for the other team is subpar, with these 2 weeks, I like the defense figuring it out a little bit easier than the offense, because at the end of the day, it's just hard as an offense to figure it out in the red zone.
Here's a question. Which side of the ball do you see the Brian Kelly, Tommy Rees dynamic playing out more of a factor on? Is Tommy Rees able to give them more nuggets about what LSU may want to do offensively in this situation, or is Brian Kelly?
I think it's Brian Kelly.
The other way?
I think it's a great question. I think it's Brian Kelly, though, because I think that with a young offensive coordinator like
Young and
Tommy
impressionable,
right? You've been around this guy.
He wants to show up Brian Kelly because he
It's not
left him
even
at the
that.
altar for the LSU
It's
job.
not even that.
And then he threw him under the bus when he said, "Oh, I'm glad that I'm not working for Brian Kelly because I didn't like what he did to my offense." He said, this is actually what he
His
said.
offense wasn't great.
And he said, Look, with Brian Kelly, you have to follow a bunch of core principles.
Is this how he talks? Is this how Tommy Reese talks?
Yeah, this is how he talks. And he's like, you have to put in a bunch of core principles that he put in. I played with him under Notre Dame, was quarterback for him, and there's some tenets of his offense you have to use. Now, with him gone, I feel like I can finally run my offense.
How's that work?
So how's that play into the X and O's?
Yeah.
So my answer.
I'm so
to
glad
that
Tommy
question
Reese isn't here.
Tommy Reese is a younger offensive coordinator. He's been at Notre Dame. Now he's doing things on his own. I think when things kind of get tough and things start to get a little hard, he's going to revert back to some of those things that are comfortable, and I think that Brian Kelly is going to understand that. And it's not going to be – I don't think that's going to change the game. But, maybe a third down, a big third down, crucial third down situation, like, oh, I see this. I know what he's trying to do. This is what we need. I think it's going to lean more towards Brian Kelly than Tommy Reese, but, who knows? Who knows? It's going to be fun.
Do you think that – I've heard – some whispers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, boy. You know how these usually go.
Uh-huh.
How's this going to go? Where does this
That
lead
Brian
to?
Kelly has been very, very involved with the defense.
I've heard that too.
2 weeks.
I not really whispers. It was kind of on this On3 article.
That's a whisper.
Yeah.
Because I listen to the podcast.
And in player pressers, all the players, the defensive guys have said that too.
Yeah. So those are whispers.
Which makes me feel like he kind of feels like
I know what
I'm
Tommy
gonna
Reese is going to run.
Trying to maybe we got some Michigan spies out there. Who knows?
Oh, God. Did you hear his answer about that? He was actually pretty informed. Like, he kind of gave a peek behind the curtain.
Do you not think who? Oh, Brian Kelly?
Yeah.
Do you think Brian Kelly's not Yeah,
exactly. But that was a nice, it's
what
always.
He said? I didn't hear it. What did he say?
It's just reassuring to have a man that can think on his feet, whatever. Like, I guess he
Can you
assumed,
imagine if what happened?
That's what I was thinking. Like, if you had Les up there at the podium and he gets spies.
See, you know what happens when you have the want.
Yes.
To do the things that you need to do for the team that wants to win, to execute in the game at the highest level. Sometimes that want. Coach, what are you talking about?
It's Columbus Day.
What are you saying? That's basically what he says all the time.
He's the epitome of the Michael Scott. Like, sometimes I start a sentence and I don't know what I'm going to say next. Like, I don't really have a plan.
I have the want to finish it. And then wouldn't have known at all. Wait, what's going on over there? What happened? They're spying? Hey, I think we need to do that.
Panamsky.
Yeah.
They found you out.
But what was his answer? I don't know what his answer was.
Oh, he was just talking about how he feels like college football is like antiquated, and then they went into what would you do? Like, are you changing your signs because of the Tommy Reese dynamic?
You say he's done it a few times.
Yeah, and he's like, we've changed signs over the course of the year. Like, we have somebody that actually looks out for that stuff. We self-scout. We know if we feel like they're picking up on tendencies, we know when to change them. And it's like, oh, good answer. Yeah. Good answer. Instead of God knows.
What do we think, boys? What do we think is going to happen?
With the Michigan situation?
No.
Oh.
This game.
What do you mean?
LSU, Alabama. Like, what's the predictions? I mean, we got some. I want to talk about some betting a little bit after this, some college football.
A 3 to 6 point ball game. Probably
the
sitting,
red phone.
Probably sitting in the, I would say 38, 35, 38, 34, 34, 31. Somewhere in that kind of range is where I see this thing kind of sitting.
LSU or Alabama?
Depends.
Doesn't matter.
I think if they're able to run the ball decently and actually have some impactful runs on first and second down, I think LSU ends up on the other side of this. I think if you could see LSU control the line of scrimmage on the defensive side on first and second down, I think they might get out of there with a win. If they can or not. The thing is the one thing we really don't know is how big, because we haven't had to see it yet, is how big of a loss is Mekhi Wingo?
Right. Yes.
Like, how much is it really going to matter that he's not playing in this game? That's what we don't know.
Right.
There is zero information as to knowing because we haven't had to see it yet this year, so we don't know the answer.
Are you willing?
Are you going to the mall
to
later?
give a projection or prediction on the game officially?
On the record.
Let's get back to the back end of this show. Yeah.
Okay, back into the show.
Let me keep thinking.
So
you got some thoughts? Let's hear.
So what would be your ideal defensive scheme for this game?
Play with 15.
You said what?
Play with 15 on the field.
Yeah, cheat. Yeah. but no, with the loss of Mekhi Wingo, and you said you're interested to see what they do. We last year, and we haven't seen it much this year, but last year we saw Perkins play as like a modified 9 tech.
Yeah.
Is there any chance we see that? Because when the strength of your team defensively has kind of been your linebacker room in the back half of the season, or at least of late, how do you not have Greg Penn, Omar Spates, even Whit Weeks on the field at all times when you're down so many guys at the secondary and defensive line?
Right.
Like, I would like to see them, like, if we have to go nickel, go ahead.
Can I, before you get to the technical stuff, I agree. I do think that the strength of our defense is the defensive line and the linebackers, right? Part of the reason why our strength is the defensive line is because the depth that they have at that position.
No doubt.
Right? Defensive line?
Had. Yeah. I don't think it's as deep as it was. Now it can't be.
Because Mikie out, one guy.
Yeah, you still have the depth.
You
but
still
you
have
have
the
your best
depth.
player.
But no, but I mean, that's causes strain everywhere else, right? Like, wouldn't you say that?
No,
now,
it just makes one more defensive lineman's got to step up.
That's
but
my
it's not
point,
that
though. But you have the
strain.
guys. Like, it's not like the
But
secondary where you
what
don't
he's
have as
basically
many
saying
guys.
is you have ample bodies that you can run out there.
That you have done already this year. That have actually had experience on the field that have been
It's
produced.
not going to tax any of the linemen more. It's just are OES good,
Right.
But it's not going to tax them.
Right, you're not going to be like, that's a big loss, right? No, don't get me wrong, but you have depth pieces there to be able to have defensive linemen go up there and make an impact.
Yeah.
You have other linebackers who have played really well, including Harold Perkins.
No doubt.
But my point in saying this is, with the secondary down, Harold Perkins is your best cover linebacker
In the SEC.
in the country.
Yeah.
Right? And so taking him out of that situation and putting him down as a rush end, I don't know if that's going to make the defensive line stronger. I think that's going to take. I think making it stronger, it's going to weaken the other positions more than make that stronger, I guess is my point.
No, I understand that entirely. But you look back at the Alabama game last year, and they even had him playing the nickel or the money, the buck. Like, he was playing lots of different. He was wearing lots of hats last year at Alabama.
Yeah.
So if they can put him closer to the line of scrimmage and make them account for him in the run game, and then he drops to a flat, and then he drops to a curl. All of a sudden, that changes their dynamic.
I do think so. Like, that becomes the chess match in it, right? I do think on early downs, it's not necessarily showing a base front and literally just beating you man to man up front. Like, they're going to have to be able to play some disguising games in it, right? But I think it really has to be all based around us being able to play two shell, being able to not have to bring extra men and being able to stop the run and then making you beat over the top. The kicker in it is, though, if I'm being completely honest, I think it is super, super, super important that you win the turnover battle in this game.
Yeah.
I do think there needs to be one of those deep shots goes up and it's either tipped and picked or something. That has to happen in this game.
Yeah.
You come out of this game and you don't win the turnover battle. It's really hard for me to believe, even if you are beating them on first and second down, that you're going to stop them up and down the field every time.
And I guess in the same level, same category as that, is you have to win more of the 50-50 balls than they do, right? In this past year, a lot of those 50-50 balls have gone to the offense. Yeah. So you've got to figure out whether you pick it off, whether you knock it down. Just nobody needs to catch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, those 50-50 opportunities, because they're going to get them. He's going to throw it up there. Now, hopefully some of those 50-50 opportunities the safety is over the top and ends up making a play, and now it's 2-on-1. It's double coverage.
And here's my thing, too. Like, if you're doing a good enough job in the run game and in these run fits early on and you can keep these two safeties high, there is a chance that they don't take those 50-50 shots over the top,
right?
And you make him play into the underneath game, which is now playing into what we believe is the strength of his defense, the linebacker play.
And when
maybe the picks come in that situation, right? Like, I don't know that we'll have to be able to win 50-50 balls over the top all the time. Maybe you absolutely take that away from them.
100%.
And if you take it away from them, now it becomes where you've been wanting to make them play.
And when Jalen Milroe steps in and tries to throw a ball over the linebacker's head and misses high, those balls got to be caught. There's no more no clanks, no off the face mask, no bobble drops. Like, when you have an opportunity to make that play, it's got to be made.
See, and you, like, your thought is on his actual accuracy of making those plays. I think it's the timing. I think it's hey, I'm going to turn around, I'm going to stick it in the stomach, I'm going to look over the top, and I'm going to stay on this just a hair too long.
Right.
And now it allows this guy to run into the window that I'm trying to hit.
Right, and it takes accuracy
I think
away.
it's
easy to throw in rhythm.
Yeah, I really do believe, like, don't get me wrong, there's situations here and there, but to be able to play at an LSU, to be able to play at an Alabama, realistically, you can make these throws. What ends up happening is you now get off schedule. you now don't have the base, you don't have the foundation that you need to have, and maybe that becomes what is inaccurate and are just not on time. And you're throwing the ball into coverages as opposed to actually leading guys in the open spots. So I don't really, when I look at like a Jalen Milroe and knowing that, hey, he's gotten this job, hey, like he came in last year when Bryce got hurt, played well enough to win, right? They had a whole, and I get it, Saban may have or may have not, allegedly may have not missed on some quarterbacks they tried to get in the building. It didn't happen. But for him to win the job lets me know, like, hey, they believe he can throw the ball well enough.
Yeah.
Now it's, can we get him to play on schedule when he needs to play on schedule? And I think beating them is not about making him have inaccurate passes. Is can we just make him try to stay on that long ball too long?
Make him win the game
Yeah.
for them. You know what I mean? Make him make those big, high-level throws that he hadn't had to make yet this year. That is, to me, is the big thing.
What you got on that, Lloyd?
I'm excited to see the special teams. I don't think anybody has talked about it a lot. Obviously, Aaron Anderson revenge game. I don't think he'll be back returning punts, but I do think he'll play a factor in the offense. But
I hope so.
Yeah.
And you talk about kind of this bizarre world of LSU Alabama, where it feels like LSU is Alabama in the sense of
Don't say that.
it's what it feels like. I mean, you got the more dominant offense for sure, and it feels like Alabama's sputtering a little bit. LSU has been wearing that hat for 15 years. It felt like save for 1 year, and then 2 years under Mettenberger. But so this is a game that will probably come down to special teams in some regard, and it feels like Alabama finally has a stronger special teams unit because they rely on their kicker a good bit. Was it Reichard?
Reichard.
God, I feel like he's been there for 15 years.
I know, and he's finally
That
good.
name-
You tried
That
at
name's been
Louisiana.
kicking out
Louisiana that
Alabama's
name.
forever.
Yeah. And so it feels like he's good. Like
He is.
the
That
Alabama
is.
always gets like the number one kicker from kicking camp, and he's not any good.
He still was the name Reichard on the back.
Reichert, yeah, same guy for 4 years, so he's not going to, and he gets to play at home. You've seen Danny, football is life. Like, you've seen him in pressure spots where he's won you games, but I don't think of him as like an absolute weapon. He's not somebody that's going to hit from 55.
No,
where
he's going to be inside
Reichert
of 40,
can.
and he's going to make the field goal.
Lloyd's talking about the kicks, though. I think you brought up a great point about talking about the hidden yards that are in the special teams
I know what
game,
you're about to say.
right? Like being able to cover kicks, being able to cover punts, not shanking balls. I think is going to be completely
Popping a kickoff
huge.
return for about 45-yard return,
Huge in
like
this game.
Caleb Jackson's done a few times this year. You know what I mean? Like,
They're not going to give him a chance to run it.
yeah, but maybe they
Alabama
don't need
looks
to.
at Caleb
Maybe
Jackson
they
and goes,
tried-
that's what I want.
Maybe they try to, and they
Only get that
He
in
doesn't
Louisiana.
get it. Maybe he kicks it off a little fat and kicks a little high. Or something happens. And
Cam
he's
Gamble
able
it.
to have one. You know what I mean? Like when
Pop
you get
this one
those
out of
opportunities,
bounds.
those extra yards make a big difference.
And because you've seen, and I love my guy Greg Clayton, but you've seen him misplay some punts recently where he's let a couple hit the ground that have gotten away from him. He made up some yardage on a return.
I'd rather him do that
than
muff it.
Hey, we haven't seen it in a while. Do you think that LSU's going? You think LSU's going to be able to run the ball the way they've been able to run the ball over the past 5 or 6 games that they've?
See,
We haven't seen them stopped in a while.
Now, I'm not
it's a
saying,
luxury.
I'm not saying they're going to average 6.5 yards a carry, but I do think that they can average 5 yards a carry. I
Well,
do
the
think,
6.5. If we're being completely honest, the 6.5, that probably extra yard and a half is probably from accounting for what Jaden can give you in
Right.
the run and scramble game. But I literally mean, hey, I'm putting that ball in Diggs' stomach. Hey, I'm putting that ball in Caleb Jackson, and we're making moves. Do you think they're going to be as dominant or be able to be as effective as they've been over the past month and a half as they've been?
I think if you don't see that, then it means the wide receivers are having an amazing day. Because as good as some of the guys in Alabama's secondary are, I'm taking our guys in a 50-50 ball. Malik and Brian Thomas and hell, even Aaron Anderson, one of the fastest guys on the field at all times.
I thought you were gonna.
I'd take our guys on a 50-50 ball against their secondary.
I thought he was gonna say Kyron.
So
I was gonna push back on that one.
Yeah, no, I didn't go Kyron. But if you don't see that, then I think if you don't see that early, I think you start seeing it late because they have to devote more guys to the pass game.
Yeah, it's funny you bring them up because I talked about them a lot early in the year, and I really haven't said anything about them since. I've been more than pleasantly surprised at how well they've played throughout this year so far. Like that, to me, it was never a question, if that makes any sense. It was never a question hey, are they good? Or they've showed up to be better than advertised, I think, all year. And I think they've kind of gone unsung a little bit, and it's only all been hung on Jaden since it's kind of been going. Those guys have stepped up and been legit on the outside. And being able to add an Aaron in and being able to have some of Kyron Lacey play well, it's been really impressive what they've done on offense.
Yeah.
What do you think
Yes.
the rushing total is for the same game parlays are out if you want to dabble? I dabble.
I'm gonna get home.
Oh.
I'm gonna like.
Set the
He likes to
scene.
be horizontal when he does.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to be standing.
I don't like a lot of stuff happening. I like to like.
Draw the blinds, get the tissues out.
And maybe I should start doing it here, where I can have some people talking some sense into my head.
It's too relaxed when he does these at
get-
home. He just starts to be like, "Yep, I like that. This."
Look up, I'll bet 15 player props. What happened? Who did this? I did this.
all in
Well,
one
it gets to
parlay,
the
too.
point.
You're like, bro,
It gets to the point where I'm like trying to make a bet.
these
that's-
up?
Everybody's going to play great.
Can we split these up?
I'm trying to get to the point where I'm trying to make bets, and all of a sudden it's not going through. I'm like, oh, I'm already at zero. I already bet all my money. That's what it gets down to.
That's when you know to quit. It's like, oh, not money.
I can't put any more in. But I really do like this. Maybe just another
Sprinkle.
$10. Yeah.
You're like the person at the slot machine. It's like, oh, you're just reaching
Just
for,
one more.
Yeah, you're just reaching for money that's not there.
Just
like,
one more. Okay.
But
what is the over-under for
what
rushing
do you
yards
think
for
it
LSU?
is for Logan Diggs?
Over under for Logan Diggs.
83.5.
I'm gonna go with 75 and a half.
A winner. Right on it. 75 and a
Oh,
half.
I thought it was me. Look at me.
Damn,
That's good. What about for
It's a football show. I'm
what about for total running backs? I mean, total rushing yards. Do they have that?
It
Like
doesn't
LSU,
have. It has total receiving yards.
like LSU total as a team.
No,
they don't do that.
It doesn't do that. But it also has
What do you
one.
mean it doesn't do that? Does it?
No, it has one Jaden Daniels.
Isn't that a bet you can bet on?
I thought it was, but
not on Lloyd's app.
Not on this app. It's just an individual player props. Player. Not team.
Lloyd's in the player section right now.
Yeah.
He's not on the team props.
Players Club. What do you think it is for Jaden Daniels for his rushing yard?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
I'm gonna go high 40s.
I was gonna go 52.5.
I was literally thinking the same number. Let's go. I'll go 60 and a half.
Go. It's 62 and a half.
Wow.
You worked it
I was
out.
thinking under. I was thinking 52 and I was like, nah, well, he just said it, so I'm going to have to go something else in. So his is 62 and a half.
So that mean that would make the total rushing
Just
yards
with them two.
at
Well, just with them two. You're
close
looking
to
at
I mean
right
it's
around
150.
140.
Yeah. So if LSU runs for 150 plus, I feel pretty good about that.
And that's just two guys. I mean, LSU's
point.
they've been sprinkling in a couple other backs.
Now this is
I
not.
think that's
This is
like,
no sacks.
That's like the modern day benchmark of like a pretty good rushing performance. The way offense is going, you get to 150 plus.
Yeah.
You're cooking.
Yeah.
You get to 150 plus, you throw for 250. That's a 400
college.
yards of offense in
In
college.
college
Like, that's
ball,
pretty
right,
good, right? Like, and two. I mean, that seems like pretty reasonable.
You get to 150 plus in college ball. It's a pretty good rushing performance. You get to 100 plus in
250.
NFL. It's a good rushing performance.
Like if you run for 150 and throw for 250, you feel pretty good about your chances.
Yeah.
Last one up, I'll do just because I find it interesting. Jalen Milroe, rushing yards, because I'm standing on this because I think he's going to run it in both of their biggest games this year. With it being, I would say,
The biggest wins are the biggest games.
biggest games. Texas and Ole Miss, I would say, they probably take Tennessee a little bit more seriously, but I think he was banged up, so I'm going to throw that one out. But he's run it 15 times and 16 times in those two games. So I think that becomes one of his calling cards and how they call plays when they need it to win it in a close game.
So
Yeah.
Jaden's is 62.5.
Yeah.
Jalen is 57.5.
57 and a half?
I'm going to go, just because I don't know how much of those 15 and 16 attempts were scheduled or not, I'm going to probably go here. I'm going to go with 67 and a half.
I would think a lot of those are sacks that were ruled rushes too, or at least probably 3 or 4 of them.
Right.
So I'm gonna go lower. I'm gonna go 44 and a half.
36 and a half.
36.
Yeah.
So they don't think
I
he's
said
going to
I
run.
said my number, and I was like, that's probably a little high. It's too close to Jaden's to be.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, obviously, I think LSU is. I like the 3. I think it's gonna be a tight game. I like the over. My over is like what I really like. I really like the over of the
I like
game.
the over too.
I would love LSU to cover. I'd love LSU to win money line, but the +3, it's been staying strong there. I kind of like that. Buy it down to 2.
Yeah. If I was putting money on this thing, like
Buy it up.
the money line is the one I'm
I
like,
know.
oh shit, I don't know. The over I would hammer. This
Buy it up to 3.5.
I parlayed them. I did LSU 4.5, and then snuck back on there last night and did LSU money line with the over.
There you go.
So,
What do you like?
I like the over. I would probably do an alternate and find LSU plus 4.5, LSU plus 5, somewhere in there.
that would feel better.
I think it's a single possession game either way.
Yeah.
Whoever
Okay.
wins.
See, this is where betting gets tricky for me because I let a little too much get into it, right? If I were to give you my true feels on how I would go about this game, I want obviously LSU to win. I do think LSU would win, but I also don't want what I know, and we spoke about this. What I know is going to be without a doubt the narrative because they've been already trying to push it so hard is not only LSU, but the SEC is nowhere near as strong as it's been, right? And that only gets pushed if who loses? If Alabama loses, right? So it's like, if I'm betting this, I'm just like, God, dog. Like, I don't want that narrative because I do know, like, this conference hasn't lost anything. It's crazy. I actually heard people talking today about, I don't remember who it was, but they were talking about Ohio State and how it's warranted that they're the number one team because they haven't had any slip-ups. They've
the
done
best
what they
win.
need to do. They've had one really good win, and I'm like, are you talking about Ohio State or are you talking about Georgia? Because they've done the exact same thing, and they're the defending champions. So why aren't they one still? You get what I'm saying? Like that's the thing that's been going on. I'm just like, it doesn't make.
They
like,
want it to change so
They want it to
badly,
change
yeah.
so badly.
It can't be
and
Georgia
it's-
again.
this
And
thing's
they haven't had
opening
a
up
slip
again.
up. They should have had a slip up, but Notre Dame couldn't count.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Twice.
that really was a slip up. Like, let's be
Right.
honest. Like that game should have been lost.
And it's a good team, but
So
still,
it
like-
should have been lost. But that being the narrative, I'm just like,
Are we sure
But if
Penn
I give it
State's
to
good?
you,
No.
I want LSU
Penn
to
State's
win.
gonna go 10-2 and lose 2 games to Michigan, Ohio State. They do every year.
Yeah.
When they're gonna end up in the top 10, they do every year.
The same could have been said about Penn State though. If they don't go for it on 4th and 4 from their own 43, then you might have a different have a different outcome.
Yep. So
Just
I
throw
want
it
LSU
deep.
to win. For the first, especially going into Alabama, especially going into Bryant-Denny, this is the first time I've felt really good about it because of what I see in our offense and what I see in their offense.
No doubt.
That's just where I'm at with this thing.
No doubt. I love it.
Excited.
Excited. All right, let's talk about a little more college football and a little bit more betting before we get to our segments.
Sneaky game of the day that's not LSU.
Washington,
Alabama.
USC.
Washington, USC, I would put on there, but another SEC game. I'm excited to see this Missouri-Georgia matchup.
Me too. The model.
The model, the algorithm,
The
Matrix.
algorithm. What we use. I don't know what we're going to call
Our
it.
proprietary brand,
Yeah, we made it up.
special sauce.
This is the first week, okay? We just figured it out.
New
We've been
bundle
working on it
goofing.
all year for this week.
Finally
okay?
thought we'd release it to the public.
Perfect week. We're waiting for the Alabama game, of
Yeah.
course.
Model Zone 1.
Kansas State at Texas, right? I would normally think this is like, oh, whatever, Texas, but
No Quinn Ewers.
no Quinn Ewers. And Texas has a propensity to slip up. And Kansas State has a propensity to
Play it live.
play up.
Yeah.
And so,
Bill Snyder ain't walking through that door.
no, but Kansas State has helped LSU a few times in their history. Oklahoma games, twice.
Darren Sproles.
Darren Sproles. And so that one's interesting to me. I don't have the lines in front of me.
Would you like to?
Sure. The betting lines.
Yeah. Yeah, those are for tomorrow. Yeah, I got it laid out all special for me. Let's see. What time is that game? Okay. 11 a.m. It is 3.5. Kansas State. So Quinn Ewers clearly moving the needle
No
a
doubt.
good bit. But their backup, you probably know his name.
Malik Murphy.
Malik Murphy's a stud. Like,
Yeah.
there was real
Yeah.
quarterback competition going into the fall of who
No
was
doubt.
going to be Texas
No doubt. It's
quarterback.
just-
And you got old Arch back there.
Yeah.
Right?
Collecting a check.
It's just, it's at home, so it helps. But 3.5, it tells me that they're not that confident in it. A&M at Ole Miss. Obviously, SEC game. Ole Miss needs to slip up for LSU.
Starting to get to that time. Yeah,
but
it's been fun.
You knew that this was going to be the time, right? Like,
Next week is when you want them to slip up.
for sure. I don't want them to lose to A&M only because I don't want to play the 2:30 game next week at CBS.
Passing back Ags.
So, what's the line on that one?
3. Surprisingly low. But Vegas looks at A&M. They think that they let the talent win out. They
I just don't look.
consistently short them.
I defended.
Jimbo is a lost man.
I defended Max Johnson when he was here, in that 1 year that he played, because he had some decent numbers and like it was a mess. He has looked bad.
That offense is bad
He
for
hasn't looked
anybody.
good, yeah.
I mean, look at Haynes King at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Guy's doing it.
Yeah.
And then you get, Max Johnson. He was in a bit. That offense was better than this A&M offense, and it shouldn't be. They got ball players everywhere.
Yeah. What about Missouri at Georgia? The line has it gone down, gone up? It was 14, I think, at one point.
It was 14 and a half.
Yeah, it was
at one
14 and a
point.
half just yesterday.
What time is that game?
2:30.
2:30 kick. We are looking. We are scrolling. We are scrolling. We are reading. Oklahoma State is at 6. Iowa Hawkeyes, Northwestern 5. What do you think that under
I
is?
don't. 28 and a half.
It's 30. In Chicago.
Cold. Windy.
I think it's the lowest under of all time. Do this.
I'd still take the under.
I still would too.
They keep going to the lowest under of all time, and they still keep getting under.
Yeah. Missouri, Georgia is 15 now. Over under at 55 and
I think I like the line.
I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Is there
How
ways?
do y'all feel about the game?
Is there ways Missouri can win?
The model
What's the model
says
at?
it's 8.
Oh.
Says Missouri loses by 8. That's what the model says.
I might sprinkle on old Missouri.
I'm taking the Missouri 15, I think.
Are you?
Yeah, I think so.
What is the one way Missouri can beat Georgia?
South
The one
scoring
way.
them.
Or what is if Missouri's going to beat Georgia? How do they do it?
Run it up.
They're gonna have to throw the shit out of it, and they're gonna have to get a couple turnovers. Like the freshman quarterback has to make some turnovers.
Yeah. So all of Missouri's best categories, Georgia's statistically better than them.
Right, of course.
It's to me. Do I think Missouri is a really, really good football team? I really think they're one of the 15 best teams in the country, to be honest with you. But there's a big gap between them and Georgia.
Here's my question. The game, Georgia's winning 22 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, don't forget you get 15 points here.
Yeah. So backdoor covers. what you're
Backdoor
playing
cover.
for.
That's my thought process. Like, do I think it's going to be a tight game and then Georgia scores at the end? I don't. But I do think it could be a 22, 23-point game. Missouri scores, goes for 2 because they make it into, and like I can see a 15 covering, maybe buy it up to 15 and a half.
Just in case.
Just in case.
And you look ahead. Missouri.
I just made that up. I don't know.
It's kind of a sneaky kind of trap spot for Georgia. They just got off the world's largest cocktail party where they put their foot up Florida's ass and okay, everybody's watching. We're the best team in the country.
Yeah.
And they've done that twice now.
What's
Whenever
the over in that game?
It is 55.5. But for the next week, so you have Florida, Missouri sneaky spot like it was with LSU a little bit, and then they go to Ole Miss. And so they say they might be. You thought they could catch some breaks if their schedule wasn't going to be that hard. Turns out
This is a tough
little stretch for
Yep.
old Georgia. We'll see what Carson Beck has in there, and you have no Brock Bowers.
Yeah, but I think they proved
just had
that week that the other tight end's really good too.
Yeah.
he's the same player.
He really did look the same.
He did, huh? Unbelievable.
And then Lad McConkey.
The one hand catch, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Literally looked like the same human in a uniform.
I thought
Like,
Lad
what's going on
McConkey,
here?
I thought he was like Hunter Renfrow, like a slot, like quick. Oh, this man takes the top off the defense.
He's got juice.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Why'd you think that?
Because that's how they used him.
Is that pigment bias?
Yeah.
No, that's how they used him. That's how they used him.
I had a white roommate.
That's how. Boy, Chris Broussard.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
He
Next game.
We put him down. He's deceased. He passed
Washington at
The one, right?
USC.
This is the one.
Washington at USC. This is the one I'm most.
What's the
interested
model
in.
say?
I don't know. You haven't looked at the model yet. I'm about to look at all the models when I get to the house.
Vertically.
What do you think the spread
No,
is?
I'm be sitting down at my computer, locked in.
That's not how it
He's
usually
going to look
is,
just
so.
like this, just at home.
Yeah,
Headphones on.
yeah. Listening to music. Listen to the Rivalists.
Yeah, there you go. You're about 15 years too late.
No,
Yeah.
I know some of their songs. I just never listened to all their songs. Now I'm like vibing.
Yeah, we got him to freestyle Forgot About Dre at the end of a fraternity party.
Nice. How's
It was
that?
It was great.
Yeah, I
It's a
bet.
little party trick. We got him to do it twice. They did
Nice.
it at the varsity, too.
Nice.
It's fun. They don't like to do it, but he will,
Yeah.
if he asks nicely.
Okay.
3.
Yes. That's the line.
Washington.
What's the over-under?
What would you like it to be?
No, 65.
77.
Where's this game at? Is this at USC?
Yes, it is in.
77 is the line. That's
Wow.
Well, they hired.
Boys playing 7-on-7 over there.
77 points. You have to take it.
I think you do. I think you got to take the over.
Vegas is like, I dare you.
I can't take the over.
I'd fade the shit out of that right there.
Yeah. And what scares me about the over is if Washington does jump out to an early lead, they've got a running back that is more than capable, and USC's got no run defense.
Yeah.
I think Dylan Johnson's going to run for 100, 150 yards.
Here's the thing. If they do that, Washington's probably going to try to shorten the game by doing that, right? Like, hey, you can score. Can't stop us. You can't stop anybody. So we're going to run the ball so that you're not going to – unless you start giving up 70-yard touchdown runs like it's a,
Bad habit.
Yeah.
They can't tackle. Alex Grinch, his time should be short, but we don't know how.
There's some things going on back there.
They must be in.
I mean, he's got some
He's
dirt.
got blackmail on
Yeah,
Lincoln
it
or
has to
something.
be.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like they
He's
were
been bad for too long.
They were bad for a few years before he left Oklahoma, and then you bring him with you, and he's still bad, and nobody's talking about it.
Oklahoma was like, thank
Nobody's
you.
talking about it.
Whenever they left, they took him like, thank you so much for taking him. And now Oklahoma's defense is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Venables. I mean, he
But
was
their
a
offense is
staple.
still scoring points too, though.
Venables might be stealing Steins still. Though.
Yeah, did you see that?
He might be.
And then they played a piss poor game, Oklahoma, and lost whenever the sign stealing started to come out. He probably got a little nervous and tucked tail.
That's it. 3. I like the.
It's 77.
I'm taking USC money line.
You can't quit the Trojans. This is
I do quit them. I don't ever.
another narrative.
This looks like a Washington almost slipped up.
Uh-huh.
Kind of getting to their spot. They're in unfamiliar territory. They're never usually here. I can see USC at home. Caleb Williams coming off an awful game. Like, I can see him doing some things and winning.
I'm taking Washington. I think I got Caleb Williams having a really, really, really good game, but I'm taking Washington because I see them as being able to put off like the TCU type of year last year where they just keep winning. They just keep finding ways to win. We already know like how bad USC's defense is. I'm just taking Washington in this one.
And
I like Penix too much in this situation.
Yeah, I do too.
The guy's been in college football for what, 6 years now, I think?
Yeah.
Not trying to be funny, like literally like 6 years now. Like adversity doesn't seem to really strike him. I think he'll be fine and find a way to kind of get to the other side of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you said you think Caleb Williams is going to have a really good game. I think he's a great quarterback, obviously one of the best prospects we've seen in a long time. But if you look at the Notre Dame game and the Utah game, the blueprint to beating them is make him rush.
Yeah.
Make him rush and make a decision on the fly. And that's what they did. And I think Washington, they showed you against Oregon, they can do that.
Yeah,
they've kind of done that all year.
And that's my question because Oregon scored some points. Right?
Yeah,
It was 35-31 or something, whatever the score was. I know Washington's defense isn't terrible, but is it Notre Dame and
well, I don't
is it that type of defense?
I don't think their secondary is as good as Notre Dame's and Utah's, but they have every ability to get to the passer the same way they did.
Okay.
And I would take Washington's offense over both Notre Dame and Utah's.
No doubt.
So I think when you combine those things together, I think this is a really, really tough game for USC to win.
Okay.
You want to hear?
Do you think the 3? What's the models?
You want to hear what the model says?
Yes.
45-40.
Who?
Washington.
Okay, so they cover and they
win.
cover this, and then they go over. What's the model say on?
45-40, that covers the over too.
That's what I mean.
That's unbelievable.
What's the Kansas State at? What's Kansas State at Texas?
Kansas State. See, so for the model, it doesn't realize that Quinn Ewers is hurt.
I know.
It'll take those numbers and spit those at you. 27-24, Texas.
Even with Quinn Ewers in, the model says the line is right on, spot on.
Praise be to the model.
So there's a real chance that whenever you're sitting here next week recapping these games, Kansas State and Oklahoma State are sitting atop the Big 12.
I agree with that too. Sneaky.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Crazy.
You
He's
talk
done
to
a
me.
really good job over there.
He is.
That may or may not play into the national narrative too, by the way.
Oh.
Wide open.
then
Anybody's
especially-
got a shot. This is perfect
And that
for us
would
going
be-
to that 12 team next year.
Them doing that and 2 losses everywhere in the Big 12, that moves them out. Like that takes them out of the national championship conversation, which is great for LSU
Oklahoma shit the bed.
because now you have Oregon and Washington in the Pac-12 that are the only viable options. You have Michigan.
USC is going to beat Washington this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully. But you have Michigan and Ohio State, obviously. They are one of them. They may both be in it, but one of them for sure. Then you have Georgia. And if Georgia goes undefeated and loses in the SEC, are they going to take Georgia? Are they going to take Georgia over the SEC champion if they lose? If it's LSU or a two-loss team?
You still have Florida State.
And you got Florida State. That's my point. Do you have some teams that, are going to be in for sure? There's going to be –
This is
it's
why
going to be hard. You're going to need some more chaos other than this
Well,
week.
I mean, this is what November 3rd does to you. This is why this is the real part of the schedule, right? You get to November, December, the schedule, and enough information, enough matchups has kind of been played, and you kind of get to, man, if this and that happens, if this goes here, I could easily see this happening. Oh, my God, I can't believe that happened. That all happens right now, and you try to figure out, it's hard to figure it out. It has to be played out.
We're going to need Billy football to go down there and upset Florida State, and then Florida State getting upset by somebody else.
Here's the thing, right? If Florida State, they kind of got a lucky draw with their schedule outside of LSU, but they have Miami and Florida left on their schedule. But once they make it to the ACC championship, if Louisville finds a way to get there, Florida State might not win the ACC.
Right,
that's going to be a really good game.
That's the other thing. But then they say, well, they beat LSU. If LSU win, I'm just saying it based off best case scenario. LSU wins the whole thing, and they look at Florida State. Well, they beat LSU, but you didn't win your conference.
Yeah.
So now you got all those conversations.
Wait, but say because if LSU continues to win out, LSU is the best thing that happened to Florida State this year because outside of that game and what maybe the Clemson game, they haven't been super impressive. But they found ways to win. They just keep winning. They just keep winning.
Gritty.
They just keep winning.
Yeah. I mean, look, LSU's 2 losses are 2 top 10 teams.
It's funny too because if you watched the LSU Florida State game, it would have been a very okay saying for you to say, man, I think individually stat wise, name of the quarterback at Florida
Travis
State.
Hunter.
No. Devin Travis.
Jordan Travis. Devin Travis.
You would have said Jordan Travis is going to have a better statistical year than Jaden.
Yeah.
And then you look at it today, and it ain't even close. It's not even close. So that game was the best thing that happened to Florida State this year. And it really has opened up a can of worms right now.
LSU was winning that game too. People tend to forget that.
I don't know. They got outscored 30-something to nothing, or 30-7 after that one pass.
So Brian Kelly said, he's like, look, we needed that to happen. We thought we were somebody we weren't.
That's crazy.
I think LSU is legitimately a top 10 team in college football, and I don't mean in terms of rankings. I think they are one of the 10 best teams, and even if they lose this weekend, I don't think that changes. You're going to look at let's assume this sucks, but let's assume LSU loses to Alabama. Their losses will be Florida State, Ole Miss, Alabama, all top 10, pushing top 5 at that point. They're one of the best 10.
It's so funny because this is why people have been clamoring for this for so damn long. If this is next year, you can't tell me that you don't believe that, hey, this LSU team just needs to get in. Mm-hmm. They just need to get in the dance. They get in the dance, there's a chance that right now, for the past 4 to 5 weeks, moving on forward probably, that you don't believe, hey, they can beat anybody they go out there against. A legit believe it. We thought that before the year, but that was mainly attached to what they did last year and their preseason ranking. That's really what it was mainly attached to. But after that, you're like, oh, man, they can't stop a Cole. They can't do this. And they're not good enough to do that. And all of a sudden, you're like, shit.
Yeah.
Who's stopping them?
Yeah.
You're right? This team right now, like you said, one of the 10 best, there's not a shot you couldn't tell me that they wouldn't belong in the playoffs next year.
No doubt. It's going to be fun. It's good. Last weekend was kind of a stinker of a football weekend. This weekend, not so much a stinker. It's going to be a good one. All right, let's get to our seggies to shut down the show. Joe Mitchell's guest appearance on our show is brought to you by
the 10-second runoff.
The 10-second runoff, which is also brought to you by Heineken Silver. 95 calories, 4% alcohol. Perfect beer to drink in a nice, chilly setting, tailgating at home. Maybe watch the game on TV.
What
in
a
your
weather
backyard.
right now, huh? God, what a weather.
What a weather. Great weather. Heineken Silver, appreciate their love and support. We appreciate them being a sponsor from the beginning. Couldn't be here without them. Couldn't be here without our friends at EVCO or Land Rover or all the beautiful
places
sponsors
you can go
that we have. All right. Doe's mistake of the day.
Place.
Mistake of the day is brought to you by Doe's Eat Place. And Lloyd, what we got today?
Somebody on Alabama's team. obviously made a mistake of the day. Because have you seen Nick Saban's eyeballs after?
Oof. Oh, you're saying he yelled at somebody and popped his eyes?
Yes, he already has come out and said he did, where he talked to.
He said on Pat McAfee he doesn't know how it happened.
Yeah,
that's what I heard. He got it. He did his weekly presser, and this is it. And they obviously asked him about his eyes again, and he went on.
This is after the McAfee show.
Yes, he went on to say. The doctor asked me if I was coughing a lot. I said, no, I don't have a cold. I'm not coughing. I've been. He goes, oh, so you're screaming. He goes, that's up for you to decide. He's like, well, it only happens one of two ways.
Yeah,
And if
too
you're
much
not-
strain.
If you're not coughing, then you're screaming. So
What if he's trying to take a big poop?
He could
Very
be.
constipated. That could have happened too.
Or a
I feel
nice
like
laugh.
Yeah, and that's what a hearty chuckle for
Yeah.
Saban. So if you see this man in these eyes, you know what he's seeing in his sleep. That's Jaden Daniels running up and down
Maybe
the
he's gonna
field.
be crying, tearing up a little bit.
Or maybe he missed some sleep. Maybe he didn't actually
That's
get
it.
much sleep at all.
Because Jaden
Stay in
Daniels
there?
is in his nightmares, in his dreams.
Maybe he loses some peripheral vision.
Maybe he retires.
No.
Maybe he loses some perspective. Something.
Yeah.
We need something to be gone.
He is 72. He's getting up there, Coach. Should have retired
I mean, come on. I'm not gonna say that.
7 years ago. 65 is when you got to go. It's the rules.
Would you be saying that if he was still wearing purple and gold?
Hell no.
You gotta stay here forever.
Lifetime contract. I'm going to be at LSU forever.
All right.
Fucking liar.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
Kurt Calls brought to you by our friends at Assured Partners.
And?
And
Me.
All right.
What we got today, boys?
I'm gonna lead it off. I'm going back to baseball.
baseball.
If you follow my social media at all, you may have guessed what this one's going to be. But this one's going to be to my former teammate, my former roommate, a great dude, a great teammate, and somehow still an undersung player. But it's not only to the Texas Rangers, it's not only to Marcus Semien, but it's also to Bruce Bochy. And I do think that a little bit of this is – you know, that copycat league thing that we all talk about, how things happen and people are like, well, that's the model. That's what I'm going to do. I think something like this is going to help in the day and age of so much analytics and this guy's good against this and he can only hit lefties or he can only hit righties and he can't hit a slider and he can only hit heaters. We all know there's ups and downs in baseballs. We all know you get hot as shit and you can get cold as cold can be, right? Marcus Semien.
What did Lenny say? Cold as
a penguin's ass.
Cold as a penguin's ass.
Marcus Semien found a way this year, somehow, some way, to not only do his best Cal Ripken impression during the season, but he carried that into the postseason. And there's 162 in the season, and he played every single one of those 17 in the postseason. 179 ball games straight.
You don't see that often anymore.
He played. Best part about it is he did all 179 hitting in the leadoff spot. He never hit anywhere else in the lineup. That's a pretty cool thing.
Look at my
You
guy right
don't
here.
see that.
It's your uncle.
You hardly ever see something like that, especially in today's age. So my hat is off to, and my curtain call is to
Your uncle's trying to get your attention.
Marcus Semien.
Look at this man. He's in the show. What an all-time moment. Curtain call.
What was he showing?
He has a phone. He's still doing it.
I wish he had the pipe in his mouth still.
Yeah, no.
He does.
Oh, he's got it.
Can you tell him to come back to the camera?
No, I don't think. I think he might need.
No, he's had his time.
He might need a mental health day.
Oh shit. That was good.
That's great.
That was great.
He almost
He's
got in
living
here.
his
Wait.
best life. This guy's enjoying the weather.
Yeah.
I
What
think he's
did,
coming to next year with a shine and everything.
what did he say to you? Anything of interest? Oh yeah.
What's his name? Malcolm? He's always at CVS. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll walk to CVS to get coffee. He'll be sitting there like this, staring straight with his pipe in his mouth, just puffing.
Dude,
Like,
what do you
this guy's
think he
doing it.
knows?
This
Something.
guy's seen a lot.
Yeah.
He's seen a lot.
Malcolm.
You got one?
I do have a curtain call. Finally, a lot was made of this woman, Tiffany Gomez. That motherfucker's not real. That woman, pardon my take,
Yep.
and PFT commenter has been publicly wooing her on Instagram and Twitter, and it finally fell through. She came to a game.
Didn't fall through.
Came to
Followed
fruition.
through.
Followed through. Where she follows like 2 people on Twitter. He's one of them, and they got her to a game. So
Nice.
love is love.
There you go.
2
Talk
conspiracy
about Jersey
theorists.
Jerry's feet.
Yes, Jersey Jerry loved. He's not obsessed with feet. He just has an admiration for feet,
There you go.
which is a nice way to put
Yep.
that as a fetish.
Um,
So she's real.
she's real. All right, my curtain call.
You're obsessed with hockey all of a sudden.
Well, I've never played it. It's Louisiana. You don't ever have anybody here play in the NHL. This kid, Mason Luray, was born. He's not. I guess he is technically from Louisiana. He was born in Baton Rouge. His dad was the coach of the ECHL, which is, I found out during Halloween, the AA for the NHL. So the ECHL is the AA, which is the Baton Rouge Kingfish. You had the Louisiana Ice Skaters, or Lafayette Ice Skaters.
Alexander Warthogs.
Yeah, they're all part of this AA of hockey.
Shreveport Mudbugs.
Exactly. His dad was the head coach in Baton Rouge for the Baton Rouge Kingfish, and he was born here. So he is the first Louisiana-born player to dress in a regular season or playoff NHL hockey game, which I think is really cool. I think hockey is very intriguing. It's very awesome. I think these guys are unbelievable athletes. They're on blades that are like this thin. And, if you're not careful, and obviously that's very terrible what happened. But I never played it, never tried to play it, but I think it's really cool and it's fascinating to me. I'm fascinated by things that I am not
well versed in.
Yeah, good at or all that kind of stuff.
You would have been a hell of a hockey player, Mikey. You got the build for it.
I had the Mighty Ducks syndrome where I could skate and I just couldn't
can't stop.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah. But curtain call to him. Curtain call to hockey coming down in Louisiana and making an impact.
Curtain call to what was his name?
Malcolm.
Curtain call to Malcolm.
I know this is last minute. You don't have I don't know. You could have a curtain call. Do you have a curtain call?
Give me Kim Mulkey in the women's basketball
Boom.
team.
There you go.
From what just dominant in their exhibition yesterday. How about the new locker room for
Unbelievable.
them? Unbelievable.
And they have the LSU Gold has this documentary that they from last year.
They're going to do a showing of it.
Yes.
Free of charge in the PMAC.
When?
I don't know that.
Okay. You know what? They're also not them.
Before the game.
Another showing that is going to be happening in a couple weeks. Elf is back in theaters.
Such bullshit. Like, make a new movie. Make a good one.
How dare you?
What?
Elf is good, but I'm saying we're living off the past
Yes,
success.
you can't. He refuses. He will not make another one.
The Grinch is already here.
Don't ruin a great movie by making another one. They did.
I agree.
They tried that with Anchorman, didn't work. Tried that with Dumb and Dumber, didn't work.
No, that was unfortunate.
Like, let's not do that. They tried that with Sandlot, didn't work. Like,
I don't want an Elf 2, but I just think we need to find another one. I feel like
So you want an
the run of Elf has gone on far too long.
How do you?
He wants an Elf 2.
Christmas Vacation's really good.
I don't want an Elf 2, but I want an Elf.
I don't want Elf adjacent.
That's literally what he just said.
Yeah. But okay,
Is Elf good?
it's great. I laugh all the
Your
time.
favorite Christmas movie?
One of them. I like the Home Alones too.
I'm about to say I'm all on Home Alone, dog.
Yeah,
Like,
I like Christmas Vacation too.
A Christmas
How can you
Story?
not love Home Alone?
I don't really watch the Christmas Story that much. You don't like Home Alone?
It's not my
None of them?
favorite. I mean,
None
yeah,
of
I mean,
them?
I like them, but it's not my favorite
out.
Christmas movie.
What's your favorite?
Give me it's a toss up between Elf and The Grinch.
The Grinch is good.
The Grinch is
good.
damn good.
The Grinch is good.
Which one? With Jim Carrey?
Yes.
Yeah.
The new Grinch does not count.
I don't even. There's a new one.
Oh, there's a new one.
I wish they sold roast beef at Walmart.
They
I'd have
could. You go in the right aisle or the wrong aisle.
I don't know if that's at Walmart. Maybe somewhere else. But all right.
I've never
Great
really,
show.
I
We
don't
went a
think
little
I've
overtime
seen
today?
Grinch. I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's good. It's good.
I've seen Elf.
Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the big game on Saturday. We'll be back live
Do you
in
consider
studio from 6 to 8 p.m.
are those
recapping
Christmas
everything.
movies? Home
Huh?
Alone? Does that count as a Christmas movie or just a movie?
No, it's a Christmas movie.
Just because it's at Christmas time?
Die Hard.
That's a big debate.
I'm kidding.
I don't consider Die Hard a Christmas movie. But I do consider Home Alone a Christmas movie.
I do too.
It's the same criteria.
No.
They're both doing the
No.
exact same thing.
No.
It's a movie in December.
No.
Yeah.
There's more Christmas stuff in Home Alone.
Like what?
Like you have to your Christmas trees, you have snow, you're you're actually celebrating Christmas.
There's Christmas caroling going
Yeah.
on. Like
That's Thanksgiving that they're all at, isn't it? The family dinner?
This is what we've been missing from his football talk, by the
the
way.
family dinners
he's gotten
before
off
they
of
go
doing this
to
for
a
a
Christmas
while.
holiday.
He's gotten off of doing this in his football talk.
Yeah.
He's just bringing it to the.
We're back live in studio from 6 to 8 p.m.
Camera
on
on.
Monday. Recapping everything this weekend. Hopefully all of our bets hit. We'll tell you how the model works out before we start really promoting our model. We've worked really hard on it all year on this algorithm /model/ cheat code for the gambling world.
We need to come up with a name for it.
We're 0-1 now, but it's okay.
That was a late entry into
It
the
is
model.
a.
That was a test.
It's a cumulative.
Yes.
It's a cumulative thing. You can't just go in one game.
That one didn't actually count. Now we know.
Didn't count. We appreciate you. We love you. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you don't like watching us and you like listening to us, we're anywhere you get your pods. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy this beautiful weather. See you next week. Peace. This man got you on TV.
I know. I saw him.